Triggs?
Triggs has practiced. He'll be.
He's practiced for a couple weeks, right?
Yeah. And so.
Is he being able to cut a little bit more than he was previously?
We gotta see him pretty good.
I think it's Zach who's not practiced still.
Zach has been actually sick. He's been flu sick. So that's been the reason why he hasn't done much, is because he's been under the weather.
What does that mean for his status?
Richford's going to start.
And what kind of week did Richford have in practice?
Good. Real good.
Have you seen, 2 weeks now of getting all the snaps? Have you seen anything as far as his improvement or development?
He doesn't change much because he's pretty well prepared all the time. So he gets the same amount of reps really, but every practice looks good for him. He was very sharp, and so he's always well prepared. He really is a student of the game and well prepared that way.
You guys have seemed ready to play every week. You having a season like this, obviously harder to find motivation at this point in the year sometimes. Are you still feeling good about the fact that they're ready to go and they're all on the same page?
I think that says a lot about this team. It's motivation when the record isn't what you want it to be. And I've been very pleased with the work ethic, the attitude, the togetherness. Guys are doing things they're supposed to do off the field. It's been challenging, with the record, but all the things that they're doing off the field in preparation and has been all positive, and so I'm happy that the foundation has stayed strong.
Are you hearing from former players this week or last few weeks? Anything? Just wondering if anyone checking in with you, offering their support.
No, from time to time, yeah. I got one. There are people who come around here, over the last few weeks, seeing them, just to see the games or whatever. Kevin Mullen sent me a nice text last week, after the Oregon game, and so. Yeah, but there've been a lot of guys coming to the games usually.
Right. Looks like Oregon State's probably going to start Mannion. Does that matter to the way you guys approach them? Or
not really. It's I think their offense is their offense. I don't think they change much depending on who their quarterback is. And Mannion was playing really well early, so he's very dangerous. Tall, puts the ball all over the place. He's very good.
He's been picked off a lot in his career. It's probably the one thing he's got to overcome still. Is that something you can take advantage of?
Well, I think it was his first last year, not so much this season. I didn't notice him getting picked off a lot. Now, the game that he came back, he got picked off a few times.
And
then Ross came back in. But before that, I didn't think that was haunting him this year as much. When you're a freshman, you're trying to do things, sometimes that happens. But I hadn't noticed that. I thought he'd make good decisions, been throwing it real accurate earlier in the year.
Was he someone you were recruiting when he was high school?
I can't remember exactly which year that was and who we were recruiting at the time. Because we've had commitments for quarterbacks early every year.
Yeah.
So I can't remember exactly what year that was.
But MSG, what's his?
He will not play.
Yeah, his senior year had to go the way it is.
Yeah, it's really too bad.
And just to account for it, Keenan is not going to.
Keenan will not play.
Yeah.
Okay. How's he handled the disappointment of not getting to play the second half of what may be his final year in college?
He's been very emotional about it. The first game that he could not play, I don't know what game that was, Washington maybe, or something, when we were here. He was very emotional in the locker room. I was walking up the steps with him coming out the pregame, and he was in tears. He was very emotional. I think it really hits you when you get in that environment, you get around all the guys, and you're used to going battle with them and all that, and you've invested so much in it, and then you can't go out there and you see your team excited and you can't go out there with them. He was very emotional, that day especially. But he's been good. He's out, he's out there with the guys, help coach them up and being around them, being there for leadership for the young guys.
How about Zach? His senior year hasn't really ended the way that anyone would like. How's he handling these last few weeks?
Well, it's been. He was very disappointed, obviously, last week not to be able to play in his last home game, here in the stadium. And then, unfortunately, his sickness this week has held him from practicing. So, but he's doing fine. Anytime something like that happens, but those guys are all doing well. Summers Gavin's out there, talking to Freddie and coaching Freddie and, really staying involved and connected, So, they're invested in it, and it means a lot to them. So, even though Matt's not going to play, he's going to travel with us.
Sorry, who's that?
Summers Gavin.
Oh, yeah.
He's going to travel with us.
How big a deal is it when you have a season like this, if you can win your last game to sort of carry over to next year?
Well, I think, yeah, absolutely. For a few reasons. Obviously for the guys who are leaving here, you like it for that, but as a start to kick off, the off season to end on a positive note would be great.
And short of obviously wanting to win, what is it you'd like to see from your team in this game? Anything that you have in mind? You've been competing.
That's really all you can ask, and that's what I anticipate seeing again this week. They'll come out, they'll be ready to play, and the guys who are playing will give it their all. And if there's no depth, those guys will lay it all on the line. And they've been doing that every week. So that I can't say I want to go in there and look for them to lay it all on the line, because they have laid it all on the line. That's never been a question in my mind. So
this is a hostile place to play.
Very.
And the weather's going to be crappy, apparently.
I heard 70% chance of rain.
Right.
Yeah.
It'll be a real friendly place to be on Saturday night for you guys.
Yeah. But it's very loud there. They're very loud. The deal is they rival Oregon a little bit, in their whole thing, the way it's very loud. They have that chainsaw that goes on down. That's
a quaint touch.
Annoying. So we've had that in practice a few times this week.
Have you really?
Played the chainsaw.
This simulate. How many teams have to simulate a chainsaw in practice to prepare for their game?
Yeah,
Your team's reacting well to the chainsaw?
It is noisy.
It'd be a little more hardcore if you had somebody on the sideline with an actual chainsaw.
It sounded like it was. I'm looking around, seeing who was cutting trees down or something.
Well, with all the construction going on, there might be.
So they just play a loud recording of the chainsaw at a particular time in the game, and when do they do it? On third down?
Third down.
When it's your third
When
down?
it's our third down.
Right.
That's what I remember. Now they may play it more often, but that's what I remember.
Could you maybe comment on some of the young guys coming up? Maybe haven't played a lot this year, but you're impressed with their talent. You can see them leading toward really good contributions next year and the year
A
after.
lot. There's a lot of those guys. You take all four of those new offensive linemen coming in. Obviously the young receivers, I think, have a bright future. They've learned a lot this year. Maximo, has played a role, and he's going to be a very good player. The young linebackers, Barton and Nickerson, those guys are going to be really good players. You get all those other guys back, like Jason Gibson and Wilkerson, those guys.
How's McClure?
McClure is doing well. McClure is doing
He'll be
well.
ready to play next year.
I was just going to mention his name, actually. He's been running up and down the sideline, and he's doing well, and he's really stayed engaged, with everything on the sideline. And so
Hard for a guy that age to wait this long to get to play again.
Yeah. Well, he plays.
I know, but it's been a whole year now since he's been on the field.
Right.
It'll be another year almost before he gets to it.
Right. And the thing about it is, all quality kids, really good character, quality kids that, are going to have their chance. As a matter of fact, I just told Barton and Dickerson today, I said I can't wait till spring starts to watch you guys, because they good competitive, young guys there. So
You're gonna have a lot of numbers at linebacker, aren't you? Lots of, especially inside. All of a sudden, I mean, you're sort of thin at times this year.
yeah,
You have a mess of guys to choose from.
yeah. D line and linebackers was really where we were hurt the most. I think it was this insane number of guys hurt in those positions. It was really hurt the depth. And we went all the way back to camp. If you remember in camp, I think after the 7th practice or 8th practice, we had to stop hitting completely, and all that kind of stuff.
They're always on the bicycles.
Yeah, it was a bad deal for that.
Is McClure going to be available for spring, or is it too early to tell?
I wouldn't want to go on a limb and say absolutely. I'm not a doctor, because it's something you really have to watch out for with him. But looking at him run out there, it looks like that would definitely be a possibility.
That's still 4.5 months away.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So, that was because it was leading into. We thought he may be ready for the season, but it was kind of iffy, and then they made a decision. No, he needs time.
Has Kyrie gotten right? Is he better?
Kyrie is getting better. Kyrie is getting better.
Wilkerson?
Wilkerson did things this week. He had his pads on, was running around out there this week doing things. Gibson, not quite yet. Gibson still doing things. They're all off to the side over there, doing their little.
Fort, do you anticipate a full go in the spring?
I would anticipate that. But again, I've learned not to completely rely on that until you actually see it, with how he heals up, how training goes for him.
All right, thank you.
All right.
See you Saturday.
Take care.